Welcome back to the channel, and today we'll be talking about the Pistons updates, upgrades, everything going on. Since the last video we've done, we've had a new coach hired, JB Bickerstaff of the Cleveland Cavaliers. We've had a draft since then where we drafted Ron Holland in the first round, pick 5, and Bobby Clinton we drafted at pick 37 in the second round. First ever time we've had a 2-round draft, which is interesting. I liked it, but I thought it was very interesting how the second round was just like in a studio. It looked like in an ESPN studio, in the corner with like some families just sitting in these tables. It was weird, and it stinks that they can't walk up and get that moment, with Commissioner Silver. But obviously, he doesn't even do the second round normally. But yeah, it was a little weird. But I did like that it was 2 days. Just if they made it maybe in the same venue both days, or move the draft up earlier and have like an hour break in between the drafts, maybe something like that. So now we move on to the guys. We can do the coaching staff first. We hired J.D. Bickerstaff. He was a coach or an interim head coach with the Rockets in 2015 and 16. Interim head coach 2017, 18, and 19 for the Grizzlies when Fizdale got fired. Interim head coach for the Cavs when John Beilein was fired, and then was the head coach for the last, I think, 2 or 3 years. 2020 he was the head coach, so 2020 on. So in those years they went 22 and 50, 44 and 38, 51 and 31, and then 48 and 34. This year, losing in the semifinals to the Celtics. I think they won one game maybe. Yeah, I think they won one game, and then Don Mitchell got hurt, and the whole series went out the window. They had a lot of guys hurt. Obviously, the Celtics seems very good and a lot better than people thought at the time. Now looking back on it, you can say that they were like easy walk-around favorites, but they were, close in a lot of games. But yeah, I think it's an upgrade from Monty Williams. No kidding, Blake. It's a kind of an obvious thing there. But looking over at what he's done, pretty good defensive guy. He likes doing all this stuff, and doing some good defensive plans. A little bit stagnant on offense from what I've read. It's hard to read a lot on this stuff because you see, every Cavs saying like, "Thank God we want him out." Didn't get along with Donovan Mitchell from what it looked like, but if Cade had a saying in firing the coach, you would think that he had a say in who he wanted as a coach. But we've seen, Darius Garland take big leaps, even Donovan Mitchell take a little bit of a leap, and a lot of these younger guys take leaps under him, where they played really sound defensively. Again, offense is a little bit of a hero ball with Donovan Mitchell at times, but kind of need it sometimes. But you looking at the way it works, with the way that their defense is being played, it kind of matches up with how we've drafted and played. You look at guys like what's his name, Asar Thompson. Defense first, right? Duran was good defensively initially, had to work on that. But even the guys you drafted, defense is the stronger suit of Ron Holland right now. The offense will come, with time, but right now it's all about defense. So we'll actually save the next part on the coaching for the end. But what we'll do is look at Ron Holland. He was the 5th overall pick in the draft. He was very surprised to be picked by Detroit because he was never interviewed or did a workout with them. But when you factor in the fact that we fired Troy Weaver in the middle of the process, it kind of is like, okay, yeah, maybe it explains a bit of what's going on there. So that's good to know. But when you really look at a 10,000-foot view of this class, it's one of the worst classes in a long time. Everyone says blah, blah, blah. So why not take the guy with the best, the highest ceiling? He might have bad floor, I guess you could say, but his ceiling is incredible. So when you look at what he's doing, he's a athletic freak of a wing. I mean, his exact measurables, I'll get him real quick: 6'8", 208, 206, right? Big wing, can play the 2 probably, can definitely play the 3, maybe the 4 if we're like pushing it a little bit. But everything is there except the whole shooting thing, which when you think of the Pistons, it's like, oh, great, another hyper athletic when they can't shoot, Asar Thompson 2.0. He's not as athletic as Asar because Asar is, generationally athletic, borderline. But he can shoot at least a bit better. Averaging, 20 points a game in the G League Ignite. He was everyone wanted him out of college. I think he was number 1 or 2 prospect, depending on what you looked at. 5-star guy, would have gotten so much money in NIL if it was a thing when he was in college, I guess the last year and a half. But no, he's now, born in 2005. He's 18 years old, July 7th. His birthday is actually coming up here. He'll be 19 in about a week from now. But yeah, he's in the Ignite. Now he's in the Pistons. He was already talking about how much he likes Detroit music, kind of embracing the culture. He liked Cade a lot. He talked about he would want Cade's, there was like some video. He's like, I want Cade's mentality, blah, blah, blah. I played with Cade a few times, came in to work with him, blah, blah, blah. His first basket, he's like, it's going to be a dunk from a lob from Cade, Ivy, or Sasser, which is cool. Mentioning, technically our third string guard, you would say, with Sasser. He's interesting. Maybe he realizes he might be in the bench for a bit, which is nice. But it's all about developing. You develop him, you can make things work. And then we can quickly talk about Bobby Clinton. Looking at what he was doing, his highlights look pretty good. So he went to Wake Forest, and then he went to what is it? Yeah. So he was playing in Switzerland, or playing in Sweden with two teams: RIG Mark Kinna for 2 seasons, and then Boras Basket for a year, and then he came over to America for high school. It looks like at the Sunrise Christian Academy, and then after that, he was a 4-star recruit. He committed to Maryland, decommitted, went and committed to Colorado, decommitted there, and ended up as a Wake Forest Demon Deacon for a season last year. And then he went over to Carnis Taipans. What is this? Yeah, Carnis Taipans. It's an Australian team in Queensland. Where exactly in Queensland? In Carnis, Queensland. Well, there you go. So they're in the NBL. Not a big NBL team, but still being in the NBL is a pretty good league. You can see based on a lot of these guys coming out of the league nowadays are, these Australians are coming from the Australian Academy into the NBL. He took a pretty interesting route going from obviously Sweden, not really a basketball country. I couldn't even tell you another Swedish guy off the top of my head that plays basketball. But going from Sweden back in the U.S. for some high school, and then over into Wake Forest, he seems to be a stretch 4 as like kind of his thing. He's 21 years old. He's 6'9", 212. Looks a lot skinnier and taller, which is interesting. But he didn't have the greatest of stats. He averaged 5.3 points, 4.5 boards in 20 minutes a game. But he was a freshman, technically a bit older freshman. But I think he's going to adjust to the pro game much more because a year on from them, he played in the NBL and had better stats and better stuff like that. Let me see if I can see his stats here. He had 9.7 points a game, 4.5 rebounds on 35% from the shooting from 3, 44% from the field, 80% from the free throw line. He only started 6 games, so he was coming off the bench and averaged 10 points a game. And it's pretty good, right? But yeah, he stretch 3, or stretch 4, excuse me. How much do you really expect from a second round pick? Early second round pick. You got this pick from flipping your second round pick with and taking on Wendell Carter's contract with pick 37. So Wendell Carter, obviously an explosive athlete at Duke. He's a pretty interesting prospect. He didn't get much run at Minnesota, obviously, because they were a bit ahead of schedule. In Minnesota, made a deep playoff run. You're not really going to experiment with like athletic freak type wings off the bench, so he didn't get any run there. So you're basically taking on a contract for free. So that's pretty good. Now, the big piece, the one that everyone's talking about, sort of, the Pistons fans are talking about, and elite NBA fans are talking about. When you think of the Pistons, right? Think of the lack of shooting. Everyone's like, another non-shooter for Cade. Pray for Cade. Blah blah blah. By the way, he signed that Supermax. Awesome. Let's go. Well, he did, and then Bobby Marks said no, but James Edwards III, who I'm blocked by, and Shams came out and said it was a done deal. So it's probably close. Now, again, you think of Cade, it's like, all right, there's no shooting around Cade. I think the best corner catch and shoot 3 guy we had last year was Asar Thompson, who made it 27% of the time, which is crazy. Fontecchio came in and he can absolutely shoot it. We signed Tobias Harris this morning. He can shoot it. I'm sure you get 1 or 2 more shooters. Tim Hardaway Jr. you traded for. He can shoot it, right? And then you think of Asar Thompson and Ron Holland. These are the guys that you're going to be like, we need to learn how to shoot it. Even Isaiah Stewart, he needs to shoot it a bit better, right? Enter Fred Vinson, the assistant coach from the New Orleans Pelicans for the last 10 years. He is the preeminent shooting coach. Think about the Pelicans and some of the guys they've taken the past few years. Herb Jones, Trey Murphy. They traded for Lonzo Ball, Jose Alvarado. Just other guys like this. And Herb Jones could barely shoot the ball. Even Lonzo Ball doing his, sidearm thing, he can't shoot the ball. Jose Alvarado is a funny steal guy. He can't shoot the ball, right? And now they can. The way he transformed the shot of these guys, Lonzo Ball was shooting like the same way Asar was freshman year, or his first year as a rookie. And this motion and everything like that, you could already see there's a video he was already working with some of the guys shooting. And on average, he adds, I think that they said like 6% shooting to these guys. Obviously, a lot more for the lesser guys, but you add that percentage on to Cade, he's a 40% three-point shooter. You added that much on to Ivy, he's a good league average shooter. You hit that on Fontecchio, we're talking about a guy that's shooting 50%. Obviously, it won't be that high, but you know what I'm saying, right? If you can get Ron Holland to shoot, right, he's going to be an unbelievable guy. If he can shoot, we're looking at a Jaylen Brown type guy. I know Mike Vlenny was talking about the other day, and he actually loved the pick, which I do respect his opinion, as not a lot of people do in Detroit, but he obviously has a good way to look at it from the outside, being a Boston fan. Jaylen Brown couldn't shoot coming into the league. He was an athletic freak that couldn't shoot. So if Ron Holland can shoot, and you get Jaylen Brown, you pair him with Cade and Ivy and Asar and Duran, that could be cooking. If I had a gun in my head right now, I would say my starting lineup would be probably Cade, Ivy at the 2, maybe Tim Hardaway Jr. You'd have interchangeable Fontecchio and who's the fourth? Fontecchio and Tobias Harris with Duran at the center. Maybe even having Stu at the center. And if you have Stu at the center, with those shooters, everyone on the floor can shoot, and the Pistons suddenly have floor spacing. Everyone's crying about how there's no floor spacing, blah, 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 blah. You'll get it with those guys. If Asar Thompson can shoot, he's going to be an all-type NBA player. The way he was impacting the floor last year, I know he had blood clots and that was really scary. I think he's okay now. I haven't totally looked into that, but I haven't heard anything to the contrary. He was grabbing crazy offensive boards. He was doing all of this stuff, and it's like, okay, let's move forward. Let's do what we can and further move down the line with this team. You look around the rest of the East, the Wizards are a debacle. The Hornets, who knows what you're going to get from the Hornets. The Bulls are trying to rebuild. They're doing anything to get rid of Zach LaVine, which I would take in the Pistons in a heartbeat. Give me a first-round pick and Zach LaVine. What are we doing? Why not? I look at like the Hawks. What are they doing? Are they going to trade, Trae Young here soon and go into a rebuild? And you look at some other teams, the bottom half of these, the Nets are openly tanking. That's like 4 or 5 teams there. You need to get to 10 to get to the play-in. Or what if the Heat get an injury? And again, I don't hate praying injuries. Some of these teams are one injury away of being bad again, right? The Magic are actually getting really good. They signed KCP earlier today. But yeah, they're building the right way. So if the Pistons can just get 1 or 2 things to go right, get a little bit of increased in offense from some of these guys, some defense, some leadership, some veteran guys in the locker room to explain and help out the guys when they need it. We saw what Taj Gibson was able to do to help with James Wiseman. Taj Gibson came in was like a coach in the roster, like a what do you call it? Udonis Haslam type style. Helped out with Jalen Wiseman, and when Duran was a little bit banged up down the stretch, Wiseman became like really good again. And it was like, whoa, is it really the simple that we had no coaching and no help with veterans? Is that all we need? Obviously not, but it's a major step in the right direction. So overall, the last few weeks, Bickerstaff, it's hard to argue that he's not an upgrade on Monty Williams. Is he the best option of all time? Probably not. Is he the best coach that was hired this cycle? He definitely could be. Definitely could be. But then, yeah, you look over at the rest of the East. Could you make a run this year? Potentially. Will I have a video on that later? Definitely. Looking more into it with the selling of free agency down. But, I don't hate the Tobias Harris signing. I love the Ron Holland draft. I just didn't want Buzelis. But when it came across as Ron Holland, I was like, okay, sweet. You went for the home run hit. I know you can kind of compare this to Sekou Doumbouya a few years ago. It's like, hey, let's take this freak. Obviously, he's not even close to the same level of athlete as he was, and it was a pick 15 at 5. You stuck and picked the guy you wanted. And if Trajan thinks he's a good guy, there's no reason not to trust him now. So that's what we have for now. I'm overall feeling kind of positive with the Pistons. Everyone that knows me in real life is probably like, this idiot, he's doing it again. Yes, I am. But yeah, that's all I got for now. Let me know down below your thoughts about the Pistons and if you agree with what's going on recently, things that you maybe would have done, what they should do with the rest of their cap space. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Right here. Detroit, I'm all the way in. Detroit Pistons, I'm all the way in. Let's do it.